My own brother betrayed my trust by sleeping with my fiancée and getting her pregnant just before our wedding. I smashed his face in, threw her out of my life, and now my parents insist I forgive them. But I decided to cut all family ties and move far away forever. My name is Julian Reyes. I'm 31 years old, and I work as a criminal defense attorney in Charleston. I was engaged to Camille Flores for 2 years, though we had been together for 4. My younger brother, Ethan Reyes, 28, works as a consultant in renewable energy. We were never inseparable, but we maintained an acceptable relationship. He was even supposed to be one of my groomsmen. It all started one Wednesday morning. I was closing a deal at the courthouse when my cell phone vibrated. It was a message from Ethan. I can't wait to feel you again tonight. Julian will be at the courthouse late. Come at 7. At first, I thought he had sent it to someone else by mistake. Maybe he was dating someone and accidentally sent it to me, but I read it again. Julian will be at the courthouse late. I am Julian, and at that moment I was indeed at the courthouse. I felt my chest freeze. I replied immediately, "Wrong number, bro." He responded instantly, "Shit, sorry." It was for a coworker about a project at 7 p.m., right when I was at the courthouse. As a lawyer, I've heard cheaters' excuses for years, and that lie smelled the same. The only detail that hammered the truth home was that the only person who knew my exact schedule for that day was Camille, because I myself had messaged her that morning, warning her I would be back late. I told my assistant I felt sick and left. I parked the car 3 blocks from my house and walked until I reached it. Ethan's Tesla was in my driveway, the same Tesla he could afford because I helped him get the credit approved when his financial history was in the gutter. I didn't enter through the front door. I used the basement entrance, the same one I use when I don't want to wake Camille after a long day. As soon as I crossed the door, I heard noises upstairs. My bedroom. My bed. I stood still for 5 minutes on the stairs, listening to my fiancée and my own brother having sex. I have endured death threats from convicted murderers and traps from corrupt prosecutors, always without losing my cool. But in that instant, something inside me broke. I went up without a sound, walked down the hallway, and kicked open the bedroom door. The door hit the wall with such force that both jumped like cockroaches when you turn on the light. Camille screamed, wrapped in my sheets, crying, while Ethan fell off the bed, naked, trying to cover himself with my pillow. "Get up," I ordered him. "Julian, wait, I can explain." Before he could finish, I unleashed a right hook to his nose. I heard the bone crunch. He fell to the floor, bleeding. I lunged on top of him and kept hitting. I felt his orbital bone give way under my knuckles on the 3rd or 4th impact. He was crying, pleading, but I didn't stop until Camille desperately pulled me off. "Stop it! You'll kill him!" I looked at her, hair messy, wrapped in the sheets, tears streaming down her face. 4 years of relationship, 2 of engagement, and only 3 days before our wedding. "You have 10 minutes to pack what you can carry. The rest is going in the trash. Please, honey, we need to talk. 9 minutes. Your name is not on the deed to this house." She sobbed, pleaded. I went down to the kitchen, grabbed trash bags, and threw them at her. Meanwhile, Ethan was still lying on the floor, bleeding onto my carpet. "Julian, please, I swear I love you. It was a mistake." 8 minutes. While she collected her things, I dialed 911. "My brother had an accident in my house. He needs medical attention." I hung up without another word. He barely managed to sit up, holding his face. "You broke my fucking nose. I'm going to report you. And be thankful that's all it was. Do it. I'm a criminal defense lawyer with contacts all over this state. You're just a consultant who slept with his brother's fiancée. Let's see how that goes for you." Camille came downstairs with a couple of bags and a suitcase, crying and still trying to talk. "It didn't mean anything. It just happened." "How long?" She looked down. 2 months. 2 months. While we organized the wedding, tasted cakes, and wrote vows. I wanted to hear her answer, but instead I slammed the door in her face. Minutes later, the paramedics arrived. They carried Ethan out on a stretcher. He tried to lock eyes with me, but I ignored him completely. As soon as they loaded him into the ambulance, my cell phone started ringing. It was Mom. I knew he had called her from inside. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, my parents were knocking at the door. Mom came in crying. "What did you do?" "I defended myself in my own home. You broke his nose, his cheekbone. You could have killed him. And he was lucky. I found him sleeping with my fiancée 3 days before my wedding." Mom gasped, covering her mouth. But the worst came next, when Mom said, "People make mistakes, Julian. He's your brother. Mistakes. Forgetting a birthday is a mistake. Sleeping with your brother's fiancée for 2 months is not. You must forgive him. Family forgives." I laughed bitterly. "Forgive him?" Dad tried to be rational. He's young. He's confused. Confused? He's 28 years old and you still expect me to look the other way? That day, I decided that my family had ceased to exist for me. It's done. It's done. But he's still your brother. Blood is blood. "Blood," I replied coldly. "He was sleeping with my fiancée in my own bed. That's the blood you want me to honor? Don't be vulgar." My mother, Martha Delgado, snapped harshly. "This is horrible enough, but sending him to the hospital was too much. And if you had killed him, then you would have one less brother instead of two." The silence was so heavy you could barely breathe. Finally, my father, Raul Reyes, spoke. "You don't mean that." "I mean it completely. To me, Ethan is dead, and if you're here to defend him, so are you." My mother burst into tears. "You can't cut us out of your life. We are your parents. You're his parents, too. You've already chosen your side." "We're not choosing sides," my father replied with contained fury. "We're just asking you to forgive him. And coming to my house to ask me that is not choosing a side." Raul raised his voice. "You're being childish. This revenge won't bring you peace." "Peace? I had peace. I had a fiancé, a brother, a wedding in 3 days. He ruined everything. And you ask me to forgive him?" "Yes," Martha yelled, "because that's what family does. Then I don't want this family." I stood up, walked to the door and flung it open. "Get out of my house. Right now." They left, my mother crying inconsolably, my father trying to maintain his dignity. I locked and bolted the door. Then I locked myself in my office, opened my laptop, and started taking action. I canceled the wedding venue. I lost the deposit, but I didn't care. I also canceled the honeymoon tickets. I sent a mass email to all the guests. The wedding is canceled due to infidelity. No further details will be provided. Then the real work began. I blocked Ethan, Camille Flores, and my own parents everywhere. Phone, email, social media. That same night, I changed the locks, paying triple the cost for an emergency locksmith to come immediately. I called a real estate agent to sell the house and started looking for apartments in Denver. I had always liked that city. Plus, my firm had an office there that had been trying to hire me for years. The next day, Ethan showed up with his face covered in bandages. He rang the doorbell for 20 minutes. I was in my office reviewing the requirements for the Colorado Bar Association, listening to him plead behind the door. Finally, the neighbors called the police, and he left. That same night, Camille appeared, accompanied by her sister, Valeria. They pounded on the door, crying and screaming. Valeria insulted me with every word she could think of. I simply turned up my music and continued packing my things. On Friday, what would have been the eve of my wedding, my phone was exploding with calls and messages from my aunts, uncles, and cousins, all blocked instantly. But before I did, a voicemail from my mother's sister managed to slip through. "You're a monster for what you're doing to your mother. She's devastated. Ethan made a mistake, but you are destroying the whole family. I hope you're proud of yourself." Proud? No. Satisfied. Little by little. The wedding day came and went. I spent it meeting with movers, signing papers to put the house up for sale, and officially accepting the transfer to Denver. Camille kept texting me from her friends' phones. I finally answered one. Any attempt at contact will be forwarded to my lawyer. The restraining order has already been filed. That was enough for the messages to stop. That same night, Ethan was arrested for driving under the influence. I guess the mix of painkillers and whiskey didn't sit well with him. My mother called me from the police station, begging me to help him because I'm a lawyer. I didn't answer. Let him rot there all weekend. 3 days have passed since what would have been my wedding. I'm in a house full of boxes, drinking the expensive whiskey I had saved for my bachelor party, and feeling only relief. The property already has 2 firm offers. The market is at its best. My firm is handling the move smoothly. In 2 weeks, I'm moving to Denver. My best friend Sebastian Santiago thinks I'm being too harsh, that I should at least listen to them, but that's what people don't understand. For me, loyalty is non-negotiable. You're either loyal or you're out. There are no in-betweens, no second chances. Ethan knew perfectly well what Camille meant to me. He looked me in the eyes at family dinners while he slept with her behind my back, and my parents, even knowing what that level of betrayal meant, asked me to forgive him. That tells me everything I needed to know about them. I'm not devastated, I'm not broken. Yes, I'm furious, but it's a cold fury that builds empires or reduces them to ashes. I choose to build a new life where loyalty has real value, where family is chosen, not inherited, where brothers don't betray and parents don't justify it. Some bridges deserve to burn, and I will make sure mine are completely consumed. First update, 2 weeks later. I didn't expect to have to write so soon, but these 2 weeks have been full of events. For those who didn't read my initial post, I discovered my brother Ethan having sex with my fiancée Camille 3 days before the wedding. I smashed his face in and cut ties with my entire family when they tried to defend him. Let's start with the legal aspect. Ethan tried to press charges against me. He went to the police station with his medical records and everything. What he didn't know is that I've been the confidential lawyer for half the prosecutors in Charleston for 5 years. I've pulled their relatives out of alcohol-related problems, defended their children in drug cases, and even handled delicate divorces. The district attorney himself owes me 3 favors. The detective who called me could barely contain his laughter. "Julian, your brother is here trying to report you for assault. Want to tell me what happened?" "He was in my house sleeping with my fiancée. I defended my property." "He says you invited him." "Check my call logs. No invitation." "He entered while I was at the courthouse." "That would be trespassing." "He had a key." "No, he wasn't invited." "My records deny it." "Then it's trespassing." "Exactly. I want to press charges." The detective paused. "Are you sure you want to go that route? If he withdraws his charges, I withdraw mine." 2 hours later, Ethan withdrew his report, but the damage was done. 2 surgeries to repair his nose and orbital bone. His medical insurance is fighting coverage because it was all the consequence of a fight. Now he's drowning in hospital debts, and that was just the beginning. On Monday, Camille showed up at my office. She managed to bypass security by saying she was my fiancée. Technically true, because I hadn't updated my internal records yet. She walked straight into my office while I was meeting with a client, a CEO accused of insider trading. "We need to talk," she said, tears in her eyes. My client, a man accustomed to seeing sharks devour others in the market, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I restrained myself with a calm I didn't even understand. The woman in front of me was breathing heavily, eyes glazed over but defiant. "Miss Flores, you must leave immediately," I told her with the firmest voice I could muster, without raising my tone, because I knew my self-control was my best weapon. She crossed her arms. "I won't leave until you listen to me." I leaned forward slightly. The gesture was cold, relentless. "Security is already on its way up." Then she dropped the bomb. "I'm pregnant." My client, sitting across from me, widened his eyes in surprise. I, however, didn't move a single muscle or blink. "Congratulations," I said dryly. "Now leave." She smiled triumphantly. "It could be yours." That did pierce my concentration. My hands tensed on the desk. "What do you mean, could be?" I retorted. "I'm not sure whose it is." My client stood up uncomfortably. "I'll give you a moment." "It's not necessary," I quickly replied. "She's leaving now." I calmly picked up my phone. "I need immediate assistance in my office," I told the building guard. Julian, please, she insisted, her voice breaking. You had my brother for 2 months. If I'm pregnant, it's his. And even if it wasn't, I don't care. It was a mistake, I admit it. But I love you. Have you forgotten how much you loved me? I looked her straight in the eye with the icy rage that only accumulates when love rots. You cheated on me with my brother in my own bed. That was your mistake. The door was knocked on, and 2 enormous guards, accustomed to dealing with violent clients, entered. For them, escorting her out was no different. Ms. Flores is leaving now and will never return to this building. As they escorted her out, she shouted between sobs and threats, I'll sue you. Paternity tests, child support. I adjusted my tie indifferently. I'm a defense attorney, darling. I dare you. That night, as I mentally reviewed what had happened, an idea struck me. I grabbed my cell phone, recorded a voice memo to document everything she had said, and then called Camille from a burner phone I kept for emergencies. Camille, just one question, I said in the most neutral voice possible. When did you and Ethan really start? Absolute silence. I could hear her shaky breathing. Why does that matter now? Because if you claim to be pregnant and that it could be mine, time is crucial. You said 2 months. It's true, she finally admitted. 4 months. My blood boiled. 4 damn months. All those weekends, all those excuses flooded my mind. When she was supposedly going to take care of her sick grandmother in Savannah, she was actually with Ethan. When she told me about a conference in Atlanta, that weekend she claimed to attend a bachelorette party never existed. It had all been cheap theater. I hung up abruptly, but I had everything recorded. That confession was enough to ignite my legal instinct. I spent hours reviewing bank statements, credit card reports, every social media post, cross-referencing dates and locations. I found hotel charges in Charleston when she claimed to be out of town, Instagram photos where Ethan's car was parked in the background. Every lie had its proof, and as a lawyer, I couldn't allow any loose ends. Documentation was my religion. On Wednesday, when I got home, I found them sitting in my living room. They used a copy of the key they never returned. We need to talk, my father said solemnly. Get out before I call the police. Are you really going to throw out your own parents? You were. Now you're intruders. My mother started crying, appealing to the compassion that no longer remained in me. Ethan is ruined. He has medical bills, no job. My father nodded. He was fired. The company said he demonstrated poor judgment, lack of ethics. I laughed ironically. The company that preaches sustainability firing my brother for immorality. How ironic. It's not funny. He's your brother, my mother insisted. He's not your son. To me, he means nothing. She stood up, furious. Are you really going to destroy your family over a woman? I'm getting rid of you for choosing the wrong side. There are no sides. We are family. He slept with my fiancée for 4 months. That doesn't count for you? Your request for me to forgive him reveals your values. My father tried a low blow. Your grandmother would be ashamed of you. I froze for a second, but not out of guilt, out of rage. My grandmother? The one who practically raised me because you were absent? The one who left me everything in her will because, in her words, I was the only one with common sense in this family. She warned me, Ethan is a snake. Be careful. And you confirmed it. She never said that, my mother gasped. Call lawyer Morrison. He has her letter. She wrote it in her own hand. They ran out of arguments. I walked to the door, opened it, and pointed to the table. Leave the keys and leave. They did, although my mother attempted one last resort. I have heart problems. This stress could kill me, then die, but not in my house. Even my father was speechless. I was serious. On Friday, the house was already sold. A cash offer, 15% above the asking price, closing in 10 days. The movers would arrive on Monday. My transfer to Colorado was expedited thanks to my firm. Everything was progressing smoothly. On Saturday, I received a text from one of Ethan's friends' phones. I'm sorry, I'm in the hospital. I tried to take my life. Come. Please." I took a screenshot and sent it to my parents with a single line. "Your problem, not mine." Later I learned the truth. He had only taken a few Tylenol pills and called 911 himself. Just another farce. Still, it worked. My parents are now burdened with his therapy, in addition to his medical debts. That same Saturday, Sebastian arrived with pizza and beers. He sat across from me, observing me as if looking for cracks in my armor. "Are you sure you're okay with all this?" "I've never been better." "You lost your fiancé, your brother, and your parents." "I lost nothing. They were never real. A true family doesn't destroy one of its own." "And if the child is yours?" "It's not. But if it were, I'll deal with it through lawyers. Child support, if a judge orders it, nothing more. That child would be better off away from me than growing up with a father who despises its mother." "That's cold. That's reality." He shook his head, resigned. Then he dropped the subject. We spent the night playing poker, drinking beer, talking about anything but feelings. It was perfect. Yesterday was quite a peculiar day. It wasn't Camille Flores who called me, but her parents. They wanted to meet with me to talk, like adults, about everything that happened. I accepted the meeting at a downtown coffee shop, although I went prepared. I took my digital recorder with me. As soon as we sat down, Hernan Flores, her father, was the first to speak. With a weary gesture, he said he was disappointed in his daughter, but insisted that she was scared, and after all, she was pregnant. I simply replied coldly, "That is not my problem." That's when her mother, Patricia Rojas, leaned toward me and delivered the phrase that, according to her, changed everything. "That baby could be yours." I remembered her daughter had told me her relationship with Ethan Reyes had lasted only 2 months. I didn't argue. I simply took out my phone and played the recording where Camille confessed in her own voice that the relationship with my brother had lasted 4 months. The impact on their faces was immediate. They paled. Patricia Rojas murmured in disbelief. "She lied to us. She lies to everyone." "That's who she is," I said. Hernan tried to regain composure. Then I spoke. "Even so, if there is the slightest possibility, I will accept a paternity test when the baby is born. If it turns out to be mine, I will assume the child support ordered by the judge. But nothing more. No visits, no bond, no relationship." "So you would abandon your own child?" he asked me harshly, and I countered without hesitation. "I would provide financial support to a child I never wanted, conceived with a woman who betrayed me. That is already more than I should." They got up dejectedly and left. For me, it was enough. Later that same morning, I received an unexpected call from Ethan's former employer. It was Gustavo Pierce, the executive director, a man I had managed to keep out of jail just a couple of years ago. He spoke with some sarcasm. "Julian, I heard what happened. News travels fast. Your brother had the audacity to put me down as a reference on his unemployment claim. What nerve?" I didn't hesitate to respond. I informed the committee that he was fired for ethical and integrity violations. That, in practice, means he won't get anything. Gustavo was silent for a few seconds and then said, "You didn't have to do that." I interrupted him. "Yes, I did. You helped me back then, and besides, someone capable of doing that to his brother is a danger to anyone." He laughed. "Did you really smash his face in?" he asked in an almost amused tone. I replied, "That's what they say." He cheered with a short laugh. "Well done. Hey, if you ever need anything in Denver, I have contacts. I can make some calls." I thanked him for his offer. That gesture reminded me why I value my true relationships, bonds built on loyalty and reciprocity, not on the false family obligations where one is expected to forgive anything just for sharing blood. In 3 days, I was moving to Denver. I already had a penthouse with mountain views, a corner office at the firm, a 40% salary increase, and, most importantly, a new beginning. Meanwhile, Camille was posting pathetic messages on social media about losing everything and how everyone makes mistakes. Ethan, on the other hand, remained completely silent after his ridiculous attempt to fake a suicide attempt. My parents, Raul Reyes and Martha Delgado, were telling the family that I was having a crisis and that they should pray for me. Let them. Let them suffer. It doesn't affect me anymore. I learned that the opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. And I'm running toward total indifference toward all of them. Denver couldn't come soon enough. Update 2 months later. Life in Denver turned out to be everything I needed. My corner office with mountain views and, most importantly, zero drama from the past. At the new firm, I had already brought in 3 significant clients. I won a case everyone thought was impossible, and the senior partners were already mentioning the possibility of formally making me a partner next year. My apartment is spectacular. I spend weekends hiking. I work out at the gym at 5 a.m. and sleep soundly without the accumulated rage I had before. I even met someone, Valerie Torres, a lawyer from another firm. We ran into each other at a bar association event. She knows my story, respects my boundaries, and doesn't pressure me with commitment. She is exactly what I need now. But everything was destabilized again last Monday. I received a call from my former paralegal in Charleston. Julian, I thought you should know. Ethan and Camille got married. I froze for a few seconds. What? Last weekend? Courthouse wedding. Your parents were witnesses. I couldn't help but laugh. A genuine laugh. Of course they did. And there's more, he added. Apparently, Camille is already showing a noticeable pregnancy. Perfect, I replied. Let them be happy. And I meant it. The 2 people who betrayed me the most were now legally united. That was the best revenge. More than I could have ever planned. The problem came on Tuesday. I received an email from my parents' lawyer. They are threatening to contest my grandmother's will, claiming I exerted undue influence over her in her final years, and that the inheritance should be divided with Ethan. We're talking about $1.8 million in assets, a house in Savannah valued at $600,000, investments, and cash and trust-generating income. I immediately called my specialist estate lawyer. He reassured me. They can try, but they won't win. Your grandmother was in full mental capacity. There were several witnesses, and she explicitly excluded Ethan in writing. She even left a letter explaining the reasons. He emailed it to me. It read, "To my grandson Julian, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer here. You may wonder why I have left everything in your name. The answer is simple. You are the only one in this family who has demonstrated integrity. Ethan charms people, but he is weak. Instead of building his own, he covets what belongs to others. Your parents indulge him because he is the youngest, but you forged your own path. Stay strong, even when it is costly. Do not let them manipulate you into sharing what is rightfully yours. This inheritance is yours because you earned it by being who you are. With all my love, your grandmother. She knew. She always knew who Ethan truly was." I forwarded the letter to my parents' lawyer with a single line. "See you in court." The situation reached a level that was no longer sustainable. Everything began with a direct message from Camille Flores, a message as calculated as it was cold. "Ethan forced me. It's yours. Send me the results. I will send them to you through my lawyer. Do not contact me directly again." When I read it, I had a hollow feeling in my stomach. I knew that phrase hit a trap, but I decided to wait and see what she would do. A few days later, the supposed paternity documents arrived. They came from a lab with a strange name, one I had never heard of, with a clumsily assembled letterhead. At first glance, it seemed official, but something inside me screamed that it was all a forgery. My lawyer, with his characteristic calm, told me, "Don't worry, Julian, I'll handle it. We're going to verify everything." He hired a private investigator, and the result was devastating. The lab simply did not exist. The address on the papers was fictitious, the letterhead was a crude setup, and the DNA results were a complete fabrication. Camille had tried to pull me into a web of lies to legally and financially bind me to a child that wasn't mine. The worst part was that I still didn't know if Ethan was aware of this maneuver or if they had both concocted the plan together. It could have been his ignorance or absolute complicity, but in the end, it didn't matter. My lawyer acted immediately and sent a formal cease and desist letter, making it clear that we would only accept a real DNA test from an accredited laboratory. Otherwise, there would be no further communication of any kind. Thursday of that same week brought a kind of respite amid so much tension. My phone rang, and when I answered, I immediately recognized the voice of Gustavo Pierce. He sounded amused and surprised. "Julian, you won't believe what I'm about to tell you. You know you can try with me. Ethan just applied for a position at one of our subsidiaries in the renewable energy sector." "Are you serious?" I replied incredulously. "Wait, there's more." When filling out his resume, he had the audacity to put his own brother down as a reference. I was silent for a few seconds. Ethan's audacity seemed limitless. Gustavo then added, half laughing, "Do you want me to block him right now? I could ruin the opportunity immediately." I took a deep breath and replied calmly, "No, let him go. Let them interview him. Let him advance to the last round. Let him feel he has it in his hands, and only then, when they check his references, will he discover what it means to have tried to use me as a stepping stone. After everything he did." There was a brief silence, and then Gustavo laughed. "You are ruthless, Julian." On Friday, when it seemed the week couldn't bring more surprises, my mother, Martha Delgado, tried to contact me from a hospital number. She left a message full of drama. She said she was hospitalized, had severe chest pains, had been admitted for observation, and needed her son by her side. My heart raced upon hearing it. I instinctively called the hospital immediately. "I'm sorry, sir, we don't have any patient with that name here," the receptionist told me. I hung up, confused, and called 3 other hospitals in Charleston. They all gave me the same answer. No one with that name had been admitted. My mother had fabricated a medical emergency with the sole aim of manipulating me, of making me feel guilty, of forcing me to fall back into the family net. At that moment, rage mixed with brutal clarity. It was time to stop playing defense. I decided to counterattack with all the force I had. I hired a public relations firm, not to clean up my image, but to expose the truth as it was. They prepared an impeccable statement that spoke of my move to Denver, my growth at the new firm, and my professional achievements. And in the 3rd paragraph, hidden among objective accomplishments, was a key phrase. Julian Reyes moved from Charleston after canceling his wedding upon discovering his fiancée's extramarital relationship with his brother, Ethan Reyes. No insults, no overflowing emotions, just hard facts that would be forever linked to Ethan's name every time someone searched for him online. Not content with that, I went a step further. My grandmother had left me a house in Savannah in her will, the one Ethan always told me he wanted to buy someday to raise his children there, to maintain the family tradition. Instead of keeping it, I closed a deal with developers who planned to demolish it and build modern condos in its place. The contract was signed, and I received $50,000 in cash. Upon hearing about it from a cousin, Ethan exploded with fury. He shouted about the family legacy and how I could dare to destroy our grandmother's memory. But the reality was simple. She left the house to me, not to the family, because she knew I would have the firmness to act, not to romanticize a property. Then, through my contacts in Charleston, I discovered the truth about his firing. It hadn't just been the infidelity scandal, which was already enough to tarnish his reputation. The real reason was that he had been stealing clients from the company to set up his own consulting firm, fraudulently using company resources. The scandal with Camille was just the perfect excuse to fire him without giving him a penny of severance. In parallel, Camille's situation was crumbling. She worked at a pharmaceutical company that had a morality clause in its contracts. It only took her marriage and name change to appear in public records for it to come to light that she had already been fired from a previous job for ethical violations. I made a few calls, and soon her reality became untenable. Before the month was over, she would be unemployed. Meanwhile, my parents were trying to save Ethan and Camille from their own collapse. My father, Raul Reyes, was draining his life savings, sacrificing his retirement fund, and my mother, Martha, was working extra hours at the hospital. Their life was falling apart, and for the first time, they understood what it meant to have taken sides with the wrong son. I remember one night while talking with Valerie Torres, she asked me with a serious look, "Do you never feel remorse, Julian?" "Remorse? Why?" I replied. "All I did was stop protecting them from their own decisions." She smiled with a certain complicity and in a half-joking tone told me, "Then promise me you'll never go against me." "It's simple," I replied. "Don't mess with my brother, and there will never be a problem." We laughed together, but in that instant she perfectly understood what I felt. It wasn't cruelty, it wasn't revenge, it was simply setting a definitive boundary. The final confirmation came with the official DNA test performed in an accredited laboratory. The result was conclusive. The child was Ethan's, not mine. The 4-month timeline Camille had insisted on was true. They had been sleeping together even before our engagement party, the same one where Ethan gave an emotional speech saying how happy he was for us. With a mixture of irony and relief, I forwarded the results to my parents with just 2 words: "Congratulations, grandparents." My mother's response was immediate, a text from another phone. "This changes nothing. You are still brothers." And I, with the calm of someone who no longer carries guilt, replied, "You have 2 sons. I no longer have a family. I blocked that number too." Life became light, like when you excise a tumor. I learned that cutting ties with cancer saves you, and seeing it consume those who choose to protect it can be even more revealing. A year later, I thought I would never write an update again, but life had one last twist reserved for me. Today, I can proudly say that at 32, I am a partner at the firm, the youngest to achieve it. I bought a house in Cherry Creek. I am engaged to Valerie, and I have regained the ability to trust, though not in blood family, but in those who truly show me loyalty. My investment portfolio grew by 300%, all legally, thanks to grateful clients who shared valuable information with me. My life is objectively fulfilled. On the other side, however, the collapse was absolute. 6 months ago, Sebastian called me in a serious tone. "Julian, you have to hear this, but promise me you won't blame me for being the messenger." "What happened now?" I asked, resigned. "Ethan and Camille got divorced." I spat out my coffee in surprise. "That fast?" "Yeah. She cheated on him." "No way." "And with his college friend, Andres Vargas. Do you remember him? The one who was at your engagement party?" I was silent, trying to assimilate the irony of fate. Sebastian continued, "And there's more. Camille is pregnant again. With Andres. Do you want to know how Ethan found out?" "The same way you did, through a message sent by mistake." Justice, in the end, doesn't always arrive in court. Sometimes it arrives disguised as poetic irony. I laughed until my ribs hurt. Sebastian thought I was having some kind of emotional collapse, but it wasn't that. What I felt was pure, crystalline satisfaction, hard to describe in words. However, the most shocking thing had not happened yet. Just 3 months ago, I received the real bomb. I was at the courthouse handling a case when an unknown number called me. I ignored it. It rang insistently again, and then once more. Finally, during the lunch break, I checked the voicemail. The voice was unmistakable. "Ethan Reyes, my own brother. I know you hate me. I know I deserve it," he said, "but I need to talk to you about Camille Flores, about when it all started. Please, just 5 minutes." The message left me cold, though I didn't hesitate for a second to delete it. I didn't want to hear anything from him. But Ethan didn't give up. That same day, he called me 17 more times. His persistence was such that my assistant ended up answering one of the calls. She told me Ethan was talking about fraud, dates, a legal matter that, according to him, I needed to know. That word, legal, piqued my attention. I called him from my office line, activating the recorder to log every word. "You have 3 minutes," I warned him. And then he let out the confession. "Camille and I started before you even met her." I was silent, incredulous. What are you saying? Yes. I was with her 6 months before you saw her at that bar association event. She already knew who you were. I had shown her photos. She approached you with a clear objective. She wanted to make me jealous. I replied that he was lying, that it was impossible. But he, with sickening calm, claimed to have proof. Emails, text messages, photos with timestamps. He explained that when he didn't react as she expected, Camille accepted my marriage proposal just to punish him. Are you saying that your affair with her was actually the original relationship? I asked furiously. Exactly. What she admitted as 4 months was actually 4 years. The entire time you two were together, she was also with me. Rage coursed through my body like fire. Why are you telling me this now? Because Camille is trying to sue me for alimony, saying I destroyed her relationship with you. I need you to testify that she admitted the deception, that she lied about the dates. You want me to help you? I want you to know the truth. She used both of us. I took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to explode. No, Ethan, she used you. I was just collateral damage. If you have proof, send it to my lawyer, but do not contact me again. And he did. He sent everything. 4 years of messages, photos, emails. I found a message she sent Ethan the day after I met Camille. I hooked your brother. This will be fun. The same day I proposed to her, she wrote, he proposed. It's your turn. And on the night of our engagement party, she wrote, watching him give that speech while knowing you were inside me this morning was priceless. I felt neither rage nor pain, only a cold, forceful confirmation. I had been right to cut ties with all of them. But the truly unusual thing came last month. My parents divorced, and against all odds, my father, Raul Reyes, asked to meet with me through my lawyer. I hesitated greatly but ended up accepting, albeit with reservations. We met at a restaurant in Denver. He looked different, thinner, his hair completely gray, defeated. I'm not here to apologize, he told me. Good, because I wouldn't accept any apology. I just want to tell you that you were right. About everything. About Ethan, your mother, the family. Then he told me the unthinkable. After the separation, Ethan moved back in with my mother, Martha Delgado, who defended him even when Camille's parents came to scream at the door. She protected him when the bills piled up and when alcohol consumed him. And most gravely, he confessed that Martha had been secretly sending him money for years, taking it from savings and even his retirement fund. Why? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Because he was always her favorite. But there's something else, he said, looking down as he emptied his glass of whiskey. Ethan is not my son. I froze. What? Your mother had an affair in the early years of our marriage. He is the result. She never told me. I raised him as my own. The words hung in the air. Are you telling me that Ethan is not even your biological son? Exactly. A DNA test confirmed it last week. His real father is your mother's college boyfriend, the same one she told me had died in a car accident. He's alive in Phoenix with 3 other children, and she has been in contact with him all these years. I covered my face with my hands, incredulous. 30 years of marriage, all based on a lie. And what are you going to do now? Get divorced and take everything I can. I'm moving to Florida. I want to start over. But I needed to tell you because you are the only honest person in this family. And because I needed to ask your forgiveness. Not for them, but for me, for not having been on your side when you deserved it most. Raul, I said, don't call yourself Dad. I'm not your son. You made it clear you no longer consider it so. You're just Raul. We remained silent for a few seconds. In the end, all I could tell him was, for what it's worth. You were a good father until you stopped being one. He nodded. He left money on the table and walked away. I haven't seen him since. The closure arrived last week. I was in my office in Denver when Ethan suddenly appeared. I don't know how he managed to get in. He probably slipped in behind someone in security. I was heading for the elevator when I heard, Julian. I turned. It was him. He was unrecognizable, thin, unkempt, his clothes hanging off him. The broken nose I had given him had healed crooked, deforming his face. Security is coming. You have 1 minute. That's all I need. I'm dying. We're all dying, Ethan. No, me, really. My liver is destroyed from drinking. It all started when Camille left me and got worse after Mom and Dad's divorce. The doctor says I have 6 months without a transplant, and I'm not even on the list because of my blood type, because of my history of alcoholism. I let him speak without responding. I didn't know if I felt pity or simply absolute emptiness. He wouldn't make it onto the list in time. And I still expected to understand where in all this I was supposed to get involved. Then he dropped the bomb. You're compatible. I knew it because we were tested when we were kids. Remember when our cousin Luis Gutierrez needed a kidney? I remembered perfectly. We were both compatible, but Luis ended up receiving the organ from his sister. You want me to donate a kidney? I asked incredulously. No, a part of your liver. You would be a living donor. You would recover completely, and I could live, he replied. At that moment, the security guards arrived. 2 men I knew well. Mr. Julian, is this person bothering you? They asked. I stared intently at Ethan Reyes, and for the first time, I saw him with absolute clarity. He was barely the shattered shadow of what had once been the golden child, the favorite, the one who always received everything effortlessly while I barely managed crumbs of approval, the same one who, on a whim, snatched the only woman I had ever loved just because he could, just because he was bored and wanted to prove he could beat me. Yes, he is bothering me. Get him out of here, I told them coldly. Please, Julian, I'm your brother, he pleaded. No, you are not. You never were. I'm going to die, he insisted desperately. Then die. The guards dragged him out while he shouted, cried, and begged. The entire floor witnessed the spectacle. By noon, the whole building knew what had happened. By the afternoon, management had permanently banned him. That same night, Valerie Torres asked me if I regretted what I had done. He's going to die because you won't help him, she said, frowning. He's going to die because he destroyed his liver by drinking himself to the limit when his life fell apart. I could save him. Yes, but why would I? She tried to make me see that saving him would be the true act of power, keeping him alive, knowing he owed me his life. But I replied that the real power was letting him die, knowing I could have saved him and chose not to. Do you hate him that much? She asked after a long silence. I don't hate him. Hate is an emotion, and I feel nothing for him. He means nothing to me. Would you give a part of your liver to a stranger who ruined your life? Well, that's what he is to me, a stranger. She didn't insist further, but I knew it made her uncomfortable. We continued together, but an invisible distance opened up. She could see the void my family had left in me. And perhaps she feared that one day she might end up there too. A couple of days later, my mother, Martha Delgado, appeared at my house. I don't know how she found my address. Maybe she hired someone. When I arrived home from work, she was waiting for me at the door. She looked aged, fragile, broken. Your brother is dying. I know you can save him, she said with tears in her eyes. I can, but I won't. He's my son. He's your only brother now. She slapped me hard, unleashing years of contained rage. You are a monster. I am the result of what you made me, the independent one, the strong one, the one who didn't need you. Congratulations. Your parenting method worked. I loved you both equally. No, you loved him, and you barely tolerated me. There is a difference. That's not true. Mom, or whatever you want to be called, go home. Stay with Ethan. Stay with him while he agonizes. Tell him you love him, that he was always your special boy. But don't ever show up here again. I curse you. I curse you to die alone and without love. I prefer to die alone than to be surrounded by people who betrayed me without remorse. She left sobbing, and the neighbors watched the scene. I didn't care at all. Many people don't understand that cutting ties with a toxic family is not revenge, it is peace. Now I sleep 8 hours without nightmares, without clenching my teeth, without clenched fists. Ethan will die. My mother will blame me. My father, Raul Reyes, will move to Florida and surely marry some kind widow who never lies to him about paternity. That family I grew up in will cease to exist, and I will continue here, successful, with money, and above all, in peace. People repeat that family is not a choice. Lie. It is chosen every day by deciding who you allow into your life and who you do not. I decided to expel mine, and it was the best decision I ever made. Ethan had perhaps 3 months left. He had sent letters through acquaintances. All were returned, unopened. He had cousins call me. I blocked them all. He even sent a priest to whom I replied that he should pray for someone who truly deserved it. I will not attend his funeral when he dies. I will not go to my mother's either. Perhaps when Raul dies, I will send flowers, nothing more. This will not have a final twist of redemption. There will be no last-minute forgiveness or tearful reconciliations. Some betrayals are too deep, and certain bridges must remain reduced to ashes. To those dealing with toxic family members, you owe them nothing, neither forgiveness, nor your organs, nor your time, nor your success. Nothing. Blood does not make a family. Loyalty does. And when they show they have none, you don't have to have any either. I am Julian Reyes. I'm 32 years old. I am a partner at one of the best law firms in Denver. I am engaged to a woman who knows my boundaries and respects my way of seeing life. My portfolio is 8 figures, and I live without family ties. Many believe that achieving happiness means surrounding yourself with relatives, even if they sink you. I discovered the opposite. My peace came the day I closed the door and never opened it again. There will be no theatrical reconciliations or forced forgiveness to alleviate others' guilt. Time will do its thing. Ethan will soon be gone, and my mother will be left with the weight of her choices. My father, Raul, will seek a new beginning in another city, perhaps with another woman, and I will continue here, building my life without chains. The true triumph is not seeing them crawl or waiting for them to kneel. The true triumph is waking up every morning without resentment, with the tranquility of having chosen my own path. They are no longer part of my story. I don't need funerals or goodbyes. I put the closure on myself when I decided I didn't want them in my life. And if someone asks me if I regret it, my answer is simple. Never. The lesson was clear. Family is defined by loyalty. And when that loyalty never existed, blood means absolutely nothing.